So in this video, I'm going to go over some star practice problems for solving equations and inequalities. So remember, the main idea when you're solving equations is that you want to simplify as much as possible so that you can solve for your variable. So like in this example, you want to solve so that you get y equals some number. So we're going to use these techniques of distributing, combining like terms, and rearranging everything to make your equation as simple as possible. Then we're going to use opposite operations to isolate the variable and solve for x. So let's look at this problem. We're going to start off by distributing this 3. So you get 3 times 2y minus 3 times 3 minus 7y equals negative 14. So 3 times 2y is 6y. 6y minus 9 minus 7y equals negative 14. So I'm going to combine the like terms on the left side, giving me negative 1y minus 9 equals negative 14. So now I add 9 to both sides, and that gives me negative 1y equals negative 5. And now I need to divide both sides by negative 1 to give me y equals 5. So that's the main idea in a lot of these problems, is that whenever you see the parentheses, you must distribute. So here, I'm going to start off by distributing this 4 to both terms. And so that gives me 4x minus 12 equals 20. So whenever you see parentheses and a number in front, you must start off by distributing. So when you solve inequalities, remember inequalities are something that has a less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to sign, where you would normally have the equal sign. The steps to solving inequalities are very similar to solving equations. There's just one tiny exception. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality sign. So in this problem, you would start off by distributing. So that gives you negative 2 times x plus negative 2 times 3 is less than 6. So that means negative 2x plus negative 6 is less than 6. Or negative 2x minus 6 is less than 6. So now you solve this inequality by adding 6 to both sides. So you get negative 2x is less than 12. So now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. And so when I divide by negative 2, I'm going to flip the inequality sign, giving me x is greater than negative 6. So when solving this problem, the first step is going to be distributing anything that's in front of the parentheses. So that gives me 4 times y minus 4 times 3 plus 19 equals 8 times 2y plus 8 times 3 plus 7. So 4 times y is 4y minus 12 plus 19 equals 16y plus 24 plus 7. So now we're going to combine like terms on both sides of our equation. So I get 4y, and I combine the minus 12 and 19 to get 7, equals 16y, and I combine 24 and 7 to get 31. So now I have variables on both sides, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them over by subtracting 16y from both sides. So when I do that, I get negative 12y plus 7 equals 31. Now I need to subtract 7 from both sides, and that gives me negative 12y equals 24. Now to solve this equation, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 12, and that gives me y equals negative 2. So here's another problem. Once again, I'm going to start off by distributing. So I get negative 4 times 2m minus negative 4 times 7 equals 3 times 52 minus 3 times 4m. So negative 4 times 2m is negative 8m minus negative 28 equals 3 times 52, which is 156, minus 12m. So I get negative 8m plus 28 equals 156 minus 12m. So now I'm going to add 12m to both sides. And that gives me negative 8m plus 12m, which is 4m plus 28 equals 156. I subtract 28 from both sides, giving me 4m equals 128. And dividing both sides by 4 will give me the answer, which is m equals 32. So we want a value of x that makes this equation true. So we can find that by solving this equation. So we're going to go ahead and solve. And you always start off, remember, by distributing. So I distribute 1.25. So 1.25 times 4x minus 1.25 times 10 equals 7.5. 1.25 times 4x is 5x. 5x minus 12.5 equals 7.5. So now I'm going to add 12.5 to both sides. And so you get 5x equals 7.5 plus 12.5 is 20. And so now you divide both sides by 5, and you get x equals 4. So here's another equation. Remember, when there's a negative like that and there's no number written, remember that's basically a negative 1. So I distribute that negative 1, and I'm going to distribute that 4. So this gives me negative 6m minus 8 equals 68 minus 4m. So now I'm going to add 4m to both sides. And I get negative 2m minus 8 equals 68. So now I need to add 8 to both sides. And that gives me negative 2m equals 76. I divide both sides by negative 2, and my final answer is m equals negative 38. So we want an inequality describing the solutions. So we're going to, remember, start off doing the same steps as we do with equations. So I'm going to distribute this 5. So I get 5 times 3 minus 5 times x is less than negative 2x plus 6. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 5x is less than negative 2x plus 6. So I'm going to move my variables over by adding 2x to both sides. So I get 15 minus 3x is less than 6. So now I'm going to subtract 15 from both sides, and that gives me negative 3x is less than negative 9. Now I need to divide both sides by negative 3, and I need to flip the inequality sign to give me x is greater than 3. So once again, we start off this problem by distributing. So we're going to distribute the 4, and we're going to distribute the 0.25. So we get 4 times 0.5n minus 4 times 3 equals n minus all of this, so 0.25 times 12 minus 0.25 times 8n. So 4 times 0.5n gives us 2n minus 12 equals n minus 3 minus 2n. So we have 2n minus 12 equals n minus, now I'm going to distribute this minus, so I get 3 plus 2n. So I'm going to combine like terms over here, giving me 2n minus 12 equals 3n minus 3. I'm going to move over the n by subtracting 3n from both sides, giving me negative n minus 12 equals negative 3. So now I add 12 to both sides, and that gives me negative n equals 9. I divide both sides by negative 1, so I get n equals negative 9, which is answer choice G. So once again in this problem, I'm going to start off by distributing anywhere I have a parentheses. So that gives me 34x plus 95 equals 3 times 14x plus 3 times 9. So that gives me 34x plus 95 equals 3 times 14x is 42x plus 27. So I'm going to move my variables over to one side. So that gives me negative 8x plus 95 equals 27. So now I need to subtract 95 from both sides, and I get negative 8x equals negative 68. Divide both sides by negative 8, and you will get x equals 8.5. So now we need to solve this problem. We're going to distribute the 3 and distribute this 3 also. So we have 8x minus all of this. So it's 3 minus 2x minus 3 times 4 equals 3 times x minus 3 times 6. So we have 8x minus 6x minus 12 equals 3x minus 18. We distribute that subtraction, so we get minus 6x plus 12 equals 3x minus 18. On the left side, we combine these two like terms, giving us 2x plus 12 equals 3x minus 18. So now what we're going to do is move over the 3x, so we have all our variables on one side. So we get negative x plus 12 equals negative 18. I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides, giving me x equals negative 30, and then divide both sides by negative 1, so I have x equals 30. So answer choice C. So here's another inequality. We don't have anything to distribute, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. So that gives me negative 9x plus 10 is greater than or equal to 55. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So I have negative 9x is greater than or equal to 45. Divide both sides by negative 9. I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative number, so I need to flip the inequality, giving me x is less than or equal to negative 5. So here is another problem where I have to distribute twice. So I have 0.75 times x plus 0.75 times 20 equals 2 plus 0.5 times x minus 0.5 times 2. So I have 0.75x plus 1.5, sorry, not 1.5, 15 equals 2 plus 0.5x minus 1. On the right side, I'm going to combine those like terms of 2 and 1. So I have 0.75x plus 15 equals 1 plus 0.5x. I need to move all the x to one side, so I'm going to subtract 0.5x from both sides. So I get 0.25x plus 15 equals 1. Subtract 15 from both sides, and you get 0.25x equals negative 14. Divide both sides by 0.25, and you get x equals negative 56. So here's another problem where I have to distribute. So here there's that minus and there's nothing written, so that's basically like a negative 1. So it's negative 5x, or you can think of that as a 1 and leave the subtraction on the outside. So basically all it's going to do is switch the signs on everything you have within the parentheses when we basically distribute that negative 1. So it's going to be negative 5x plus 7 plus 4x equals negative 2 times 3x minus negative 2 times 4. Basically what I did here is just distribute that negative. So I have negative 5x plus 7 plus 4x equals negative 6x plus 8. So here I have these like terms of negative 5x and 4x. So I get negative 1x plus 7 equals negative 6x plus 8. I'm going to add 6x to both sides to move all my variables together. So I get 5x plus 7 equals 8. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So that gives me 5x equals 1. I divide both sides by 5, and that gives me x equals 1 over 5. So in this problem, I once again have to distribute twice. So I distribute the 0.3, and then I'm going to distribute that 0.4. So when I distribute this, I get 0.3 times 12x minus 0.3 times 16 equals 0.4 times 12 minus 0.4 times 3x. So that gives me 3.6x minus 4.8 equals 4.8 minus 1.2x. So I'm going to add the 1.2x to both sides. And so I have 4.8x minus 4.8 equals 4.8. I'm going to add 4.8 to both sides. And I get 4.8x equals 9.6. So now I divide both sides by 4.8, and that gives me x equals 2.